Hey, what do you know? This is the Melvin Live Show, and today I want to share with you something a little different. In case you didn't know, I have been a great fan of the group Led Zeppelin. Well, that's a British group that was around since I think in the 60s, and their music has definitely shaped the way many other rock bands that come after them in terms of sound, in terms of rhythm, in terms of the way that composition was being done. Those days, when it comes to writing music, it was such a big thing, and Jimmy Page and Robert Plant were, probably one of the most dynamic duo, if you like. So it's a little like John Lennon and Paul McCartney combination. But nonetheless, they have released hits after hits after hits, and many of them are classic. I'm sure many of you would be familiar with their most celebrated classic, which is Stairway to Heaven. But there are many other songs that I think some of you would be familiar, and some of their tunes have been reused in modern pop music as well as rock music. And so today, the song that I want to share with you or talk to you about, it's called Dazed and Confused. Now, Dazed and Confused was actually released in 1969, but it wasn't until 4 decades later that Jake Holmes, formerly from the Yardbirds, which Jimmy Page was a part of, sued Jimmy Page for plagiarism. Apparently, the Yardbirds actually performed that track in 1968, and it was Jimmy Page who heard that track. And after the Yardbirds disbanded, Jimmy Page decided to record this track with his new group, which is Led Zeppelin. And Jake Holmes was actually inspired by another case that he decided to sue Jimmy Page and name him as one of the co-defendant in the suit. Now, the case was being settled for an out of court for an undisclosed sum, as well as changing of the credits of the song to by Jimmy Page, inspired by Jake Holmes. And so that is one of the best songs that you know I have heard. Now, I'm going to leave the link of the song in the comments later, and I'd like you to check it out and tell me what you think of the song. Well, it's a song for people in my generation. I think we would enjoy the kind of song. I don't know about the younger folks, but in any case, the song is called "Dazed and Confused." Now, why did I bring out the song? It's because while that is a classic, Being dazed and confused isn't a state you want to be in, especially when you're building a business. That being said, I would put it across that at some point in time in your entire journey, you would feel a little bit dazed and confused. And usually, when that happens, it's a result of a few things. Number one, it's a result of you wanting to do too many things at the same time. When you want to pursue so many things at the same time, you are not able to do something with a great amount of quality. And so when you try to dabble in too many things, you do it, but you do not do it well. And I myself have definitely fell victim to that. And recently it was that realization that I was going into too many things that I decided to slow down and focus on one area at a time. So if you are focusing on too many things and it's leading you into a state of being dazed and confused, you really want to take a step back and evaluate what is the most important thing that must be done and just focus on that thing and get it done to a level of a good enough quality before you move on to the next thing. Now, of course, the spin off with that is that sometimes we get caught up with the quality of it. And for some of us, we like to use the argument that I am a perfectionist, so I want to get things of a certain quality level. But the point I want to make here is good is good enough. So there is always opportunity to iterate, to make improvements, but do not get caught up with perfection that holds you back from releasing your goods or the course that you are making. Now, in another case where you would end up being dazed and confused, it's where not just like a focus, but essentially you are not sure of which direction to go. And so, as you are open to many different suggestions by other people, you start going in different directions. So one day you might hear that, hey, starting a newsletter is the thing. And so you jump on and start a newsletter. Next, you find out that wow, it's easy to start doing a podcast, and that's where to start doing it. And then another week, you come across this video, this channel, and you think that live streaming is probably a great idea, and you jump on it. And soon you'll be jumping on so many things that you kind of look back and wonder, why did I start this in the first place? And you start to have conflicting thoughts, and as a result, that you end up being in a state of dazed and confused. So the way around this is simply the following: everything that you come across, put it as a someday maybe category, but evaluate based on two things: based on implementation and impact. So, how easy is it to implement, and how much impact is it going to make on your business? So, the business could be in the domain of marketing, in the domain of sales, in the domain of turnover. What kind of impact does it have? So sometimes it could be a high impact, and but it requires a high level of implementation. It requires a lot of energy, focus, and resources in order to be able to do it well so that you're able to make the kind of impact. Then that might be something that you want to plan for later. Then there may be some things that are easy to implement and also at the same time doesn't have much of an impact on your business. Then why would you even want to do that? Now, then, of course, there are some that are easy to implement, but zero impact, right? So those are the ones that you definitely don't want to do. But there are some that are difficult to implement, but there's zero impact or very little impact. Of course, at this point in time, you are evaluating, so you do not know, 100% for sure whether it's going to bring you the kind of impact, but it's an educated guess. So what you want to do is you want to look for, of course, something that is easy to implement that it's going to give you a huge impact. So what could that be? So as you come across all these ideas, keep those ideas in mind, but then evaluate them based on the implementation versus impact criteria. Now, the third thing that you can possibly get yourself into a state of being dazed and confused is where you start experiencing what I call the bip. Now, the bip, it's basically a situation whereby as you first started, you get that initial boost because it's something new and your friends find out about it. They tell their friends, and people start connecting and they start picking up your newsletter, subscribing to your YouTube channel, and all that good stuff. And so you see that initial increase in activity or increase in uptake of your new course or program. But after a while, that uptake or that take up rate kind of slows down, and slowly it slows down to a halt, whereby on a daily basis you're probably not going to see any kind of growth at all. And so when you go through that process itself and you are still putting in the work but you're not seeing the benefit or the returns of your effort itself, that's when you can start feeling being dazed and confused. Why? Because you start thinking to yourself like, look, I it was working 2 weeks ago. Why is it not working now? And you start having doubts and you start being confused. And so at some point in time, you might decide to just stop altogether, abandon the whole idea altogether. When in fact, if you had just pushed on a little bit more, you would see that the uptake again. And so that kind of brings us back to the first two issue, right? When you do not have a focus and you want to do too many things and you want to jump on everything and anything when you come across, then at some point in time, you're going to see this phenomenal and you are going to start craving for the initial uptake. And so what you do is you do something, and when it plateau and it comes down, you kind of abandon it and you jump onto the next one. And then the same thing happens. You get that adrenaline rush, and then it peters down and you go on to the next one, and on and on and on. And so until a certain time, you become, you have implemented a whole bunch of things and you keep saying this bit, but you never quite make it through that valley of death and emerge from there. And so you have so many projects that you kind of plunge now into that valley of death, and they never quite see the daylight of it ever again. So the thing to do is really to go back and look at what is that focus. Focus on that one thing, right? And not 10,000 things, not three things, one thing. Focus on that one thing. Do it and do it well, then do it to a certain level that you know that is giving you the quality, and you have broken through that plateau and move on to the next level. That's definitely something that you want to do. And number two is whenever you come across something that is great, lease it as a someday maybe, and then evaluate it based on an impact and implementation criteria. So that when it comes to this phase itself, you know that I am just going to be doing it, and I'm not going to give up just because I'm seeing the value of death. I'm going to push through. I'm going to find ways and means to get this to work, because that's the only thing that you focus on this time is going to work. Right. And so if you have a similar struggle with being in a state of dazed and confused, these are the three things that you have to take note, and these are the three things that you must do. And of course, you can always chat with a mentor, chat with a good friend, or chat with a confidant. And if you like, you can always book a session with me, and we can definitely go through what are some of your struggles and what are some of the issues that is resulting you to being in a state of dazed and confused, right? So be dazed and confused no more. Instead, you want to be able to emerge from there and achieve greatness. With that, thank you so much for watching, and I hope this has been useful. If it has, leave me a thumbs up, and if you want more information like this, make sure you subscribe to this channel. And if you drop by during the live stream itself, don't be shy. Say hi. This is Melvin Live Show, and thank you for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.